get full access to RFR only on Patreon. Become a member of the RFR Patreon community to get more Rebel Force Radio. Bonus shows and content are available right now only at patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio.
Rebel force has penetrated the shield and landed on Endor.
This is where the fun begins.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
This is Rebel Force Radio.
Your source for the Force.
Star Wars news and commentary.
With Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack.
I've seen Star Wars 500 times. Star Wars #1.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
Now it's time for Rebel Force Radio.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Well, if there's anybody out there listening right now that is yet to pick up the Star Wars movies on home video, I'm sure there are lots of you out there in this audience. iTunes is running a big special right now. You can get the individual film titles for $15. That's 25% off. No, we're not sponsored by iTunes, but it's a 25% savings. This is a public service announcement. So if you haven't gotten your digital copy via iTunes, $15 a piece, or you can go with the complete Saga bundle at $79.99 and you'll save 20% off. And that complete Saga bundle includes the 6 canonical Saga films plus the 2 sequel trilogy films, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and, if that wasn't enough, Rogue One and Solo: A Star Wars Story. Can you believe that?
It's a miracle.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can get those. Yeah, it is. It is a summertime miracle here. But you can get all of those for $80. That's not bad at all. That's pretty awesome. And that's also the first time that I'm aware of that you've seen those other movies, you know, the Star Wars stories, bundled up with the other movies into some sort of a Saga bundle package. Jim, have you seen this before?
No, I don't think so. I like what you're saying, though, because believe it or not, I only have maybe half the films digitally. The other half, I have multiple physical copies of just about all the films, but I don't have digital copies of all the films. I purchase them when necessary. Like when it's time to blow up the Death Star at midnight and I can't find any of my New Hope Blu-rays or DVDs, or I get so desperate I even start looking for the VHS from time to time. But now in the digital era, I can just order it and it's there, and I'm blowing up the Death Star at midnight. And that is the way I prefer to do it. It's the most accurate way to hit that midnight, that stroke of midnight time just right, is via the digital version. And also, of course, the portability, having it on your phone, having it on your iPad, just being able to reference it at your desktop at any given moment. So I think I'm going to be finally filling in the holes in my digital collection with this great Star Wars consumer news you're bringing us here, Jason. It's a public service that you provide.
You're quite welcome. And for you Bond fans, we occasionally do that other podcast, the Bondcast. You can get James Bond bundles for under $25. So this is cool. So you can get all the Daniel Craig films for $25.
Wow.
You can get all of the Sean Connerys for $25. This is regular $50. These are 50% off. You can get all the Roger Moores, and there's a lot. There's like 15 of those for $25. Now here's where it starts to change. Okay, the Pierce Brosnan, $20, right? Tim Dalton, $10, and the George Lazenby, where they will mail you $5 if you buy On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
No, that's not right. They don't pay you.
All right, that's not true. And I love that movie. Fans of the Bondcast will know I'm a huge fan of that, and I think actually George Lazenby was a good. Did you see he went off and did for the there was a big anniversary, like the 50th anniversary. Was it?
Reel it back. We're here to talk about.
I
Star
know,
Wars
but this
now,
was cool. Hold on, wait a minute.
On hold.
We haven't talked. Wait a minute.
Hold.
You and I haven't talked in like a week. I just want to say that George Lazenby did a tour of all the filming locations for On Her Majesty's Secret Service recently with a bunch of Bond fans, and I thought that was cool. And I'm going to bring it back full circle. Next year, Mark Hamill doing a tour of Tunisia and also the Redwood Forest and various other locations. Yeah,
are you serious?
Yeah, no, it's not. But that would be a great 50th anniversary thing, wouldn't it?
Jeez, I'd be happy just to go to Galaxy's Edge with Mark Hamill or even George Lazenby.
Oh, my God. This is the best. George Lazenby doing tours of Galaxy's Edge. Right, blow up the Death Star. Ride the Falcon. George Lazenby.
With the one and done Bond.
Oh, no, but you're onto something with it. How much could Mark Hamill charge to run around Galaxy's Edge with fans? Like, how much? He could charge a lot of money for that. That could be like an Omaze thing. Spend 4 hours at Galaxy's Edge with Mark Hamill. I like this idea.
It's brilliant. Maybe even, something kind of private, too, where it's not necessarily even open to the public. They do stuff like that, don't they?
I don't know, but I'm just wondering, how Elvis was famous for, like, buying out Disneyland?
Yeah.
He'd go in and he'd, like, buy out the whole park. Then close it down just for Elvis. I mean, do you think that, like, the stars of Star Wars can do that with Galaxy's Edge? Can they, Mr. Ford would like to take the kids on the Falcon ride, and they shut it all down?
You couldn't pay me enough, kid. By the way, I got an email from James saying 145 days since the last Bondcast. So 145 days. He sent that email today. So that's a message to you and me that we need to start talking Bond. It's obviously all bottled up in you, so it's spilling into the Star Wars podcast. Let's get into Star Wars.
Let's get into
Star
Wars.
Taking calls.
Yes, and we'll do that. I have to do something, though, first, which is I need to make up. Apparently, we're verging on the third show where I have not said, my name is Jason, and with me, my good friend and yours from Chicago, Jimmy Mack.
Hey, Jason Hayes, Star Wars fans. I am happy to have my little introduction moment here during the show. Somebody did point out to me that I have not been properly introduced. But I said, hey, that's all a formality. You know who we are. And we know who you are. We're all a bunch of Star Wars fans hanging out. The last few weeks have featured some of my favorite all-time guests on this show. Big Steve Glosson 2 weeks ago. Big Steve Sansweet last week. And now this week, definitely my favorite guests are our Patreon supporters. And we have opened up the phone lines.
We have.
Exclusively to members of the RFR Patreon group. So it's going to be all Patreon members tonight. Right. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys.
And we're going to start with area code 410. So area code 410, you're on with Rebel Force Radio. Thank you for being a Patreon supporter. Hello.
Hey, Jason, Jimmy, it's Brooks. How you doing?
Hey, Brooks. What is on your mind?
Just want to say thanks again for the awesome Patreon event in Chicago. That was a great time.
Oh, it's the Alulu Brewery in the Pilsen neighborhood on the south side. RFR Live on the south side was a good one. You know what was really memorable for me is all the stuff I can't remember because of the blue milk spiked by Greedo. Did you have any of those?
Yeah, I was going to say, as far as I'm concerned, that's the only official blue milk. This Galaxy's Edge stuff, I don't know, but that stuff on that night, that was good.
Have you been to Galaxy's Edge?
No, and actually I wanted to bring that up. I have a trip planned in September to the Walt Disney World location. That'll be open about a month by then. But question I have for you guys is, if it had been up to you to plan the park, the theming and everything, well, what would you guys have done? I mean, a lot of people say they might not have done the new Resistance, First Order, the new movie stuff. I mean, me personally, I might have done like a Tatooine-like city, more classic, but that's just me. I've heard it's awesome no matter what, but just want to get what your guys' idea of how you would have designed the park.
Wow. No, it's definitely a hot topic. And I have to say, understand the point of view of, well, where's all of the legacy characters and familiar characters for those of us that have been fans for, over 4 decades. And I understand that. I really do. But I also don't want to be, so close-minded that I don't realize that this is, that there has been somewhat of a passing of the torch in a way to a new generation of fans. We're not going to be here forever. And so this is the Star Wars that people are growing up with now. And also coupled with the fact that they want this to be timeless to an extent. Now, we can argue about setting it in the sequel trilogy era. That's one thing. But the fact that they kind of chose a planet that was brand new to the Star Wars universe, that's unique to this experience, I think was really, really smart, because I think it precludes a lot of the second guessing that might have gone into it if it was a Tatooine or a Hoth or a Dagobah, as Paul Bateman says,
and Hoth.
And did I say Hoth? Okay,
yeah, that's the Lucas pronunciation, actually.
But I think that we would have taken in so much in terms of our expectations. I mean, we think we know every nook and cranny of those settings in the Star Wars galaxy. So I think that the Imagineers were sort of stuck. You can't tell me that they didn't want to recreate Dagobah, Tatooine, et cetera, Cloud City. Of course, these people probably wanted to do that, but I think that they showed a lot of restraint in not going there. Now, that's one issue. The other issue, if I had to do it, I would probably make sure that there were legacy costume characters walking around that went beyond Kylo Ren, Rey, Phasma, Chewie. I'd have had a Vader walking around there. I would have some sort of... Now, Yoda apparently has a cameo with the building of the lightsabers, so I would have probably given more opportunities for the legacy characters to show up. That's my take on it. Jim, what about you?
Well, I understand why they definitely want to create their own mythology in addition to the Star Wars saga with this place. It's as opposed to popping in the VHS and watching the Cantina Band play, you can get a legitimate experience of going to the Cantina, but it's not the Mos Eisley Cantina. So I prefer the Mos Eisley Cantina, quite honestly, to Olga's Cantina or whatever it is. It looks cool. It looks great. But I would have much rather preferred to have seen Hammerhead and the gang. So, and the band playing up in the corner. That's the type of stuff I really enjoy about the Cars theme park at Disney's California Adventure, right adjacent to Disneyland. I really feel like I'm in Radiator Springs when I'm walking around that area. I feel like I can turn this corner and know that I'll be seeing the repair shop here and the hotel with the orange cones over there and all that stuff. But that's something I really wanted to see with Galaxy's Edge. I wanted to go to the Mos Eisley Cantina specifically. However, that being said, I do understand the flexibility and durability of creating something that's really locked into the Disney era of Star Wars. They're going to be creating more things that will connect with this land. So while it might not feel familiar to you based off of a movie-going experience, it might be in the future. There might be some cinematic experience that takes place in Galaxy's Edge. They're already making comic books about it with Marvel. There's already a novel about it. So they're trying to expand the unique mythology contained to that place. And let's not forget, you do get to go aboard the Millennium Falcon. So it's not like it's completely without its roots in original Star Wars. The other thing I was thinking of too is how can you realistically pull off a lot of the Star Wars environments in Southern California or in Orlando, Florida? it almost makes more sense to sort of play up to the actual climate of those particular locations. So a Hoth wouldn't really work there.
That'd be great for Disney Chicago.
Yeah, right. We can give you that. We can give you a Camino if you're looking for it.
In April.
Yeah, any time of the year. I still have not put away my snow shovels yet. I'm not buying it. I'm just not buying it yet. I'm not convinced.
Brooks, what about you, man? What? How would you have done it differently?
I mean, it's tough to say. I mean, obviously I'm kind of more, I'm 38, so I'm kind of more in the original trilogy. So I'm kind of right in between both,
Yeah, you are.
Obviously, the prequel stuff would have been the prequel stuff kind of would have been probably hard to squeeze in there. But, I mean, it would have been cool to see maybe some more Jedi in the park. I mean, that the timeline they're placing in the park, there's really, just Rey right now? I mean.
Yeah, that's a great point. But, I did not think about that. But they do have the whole build the lightsaber, and they got kyber crystals, and they have holocrons. And
right.
And keep in mind, I believe the Jedi training experience for little kids is still going to be active in the park, just not in the Galaxy's Edge area, closer to where Star Tours is. So we can't forget there is that other slice of the Star Wars pie that is available at the very same Disneyland park. So you just have to walk through.
I think they still have the legacy characters meet and greet, I think, over there too, right? I don't think they got rid of that docking bay area.
Right. So the kids do the lightsaber training with the Jedi, and you get to see that. Darth Vader makes an appearance during that. Star Tours has the revolving locations that you fly through that cover all aspects of the saga. And the character meet and greets are still happening over there in Tomorrowland and everything. So it's just Galaxy's Edge really is its own thing. And its placement in the Star Wars timeline is sequel trilogy era. I believe that the Benioff Weiss films, while we don't know anything about them right now, I really think that those are going to be beyond Episode 9 into the future of Star Wars, further pushing the envelope of the things that have been introduced in the sequel trilogy. And who knows? Galaxy's Edge could play a role in those films.
I will tell you, I mean, our pal Max Sparky, he is as dyed-in-the-wool of an original trilogy fan as you can find. In fact, he still hasn't quite accepted the prequels 100%. I'm working on him. I'm working on it. But in what he kept saying and what Mr. Sansweet kept saying is that, I mean, you're in Star Wars. You're in Star Wars. So they have been able to create this original setting and yet somehow make it really feel like Star Wars. And I'm going to take the word of what Steve and Dave have said.
It also feels to me, just from what I've seen of Galaxy's Edge, and I got to admit, I'm not soaking in every piece of video and everything. I want it to be somewhat of a surprise to me when I walk into it. But what I have seen feels connected not only to the sequel trilogy era, but I also feel connected to the OT and the PT through it as well. It seems like the environment almost connects and relates to the universal language of all Star Wars. And I think that's an important thing to take notice of. And, I think with the full immersion that way, once you go through it, I think there'll be little complaining after that. So, Brooks, when do you plan on getting out there? You said maybe September?
Yeah, it was fortuitous. I had a trip planned out there with family anyway, and I really didn't think it'd be open before then, because originally it was supposed to be, I think, late fall, but the August opening kind of worked out. So, yeah, we're going to try to get over there for a day, like late September. So I'm hoping that the kinks get worked out with the logistics and everything at the Disneyland park, so they can kind of, relate that over to Disney World. I mean, it seems like first few weeks they've already implemented some good line waiting procedures and stuff there. So,
wait, I saw a photo of. Let me see if I can pull this up. And of course, the media, they want to just make everything seem worse than it really is. But I saw a photo of Galaxy's Edge, and I sent it over to Max Sparky, and I was like, man, look at this crowd. I mean, it looked like you couldn't even. I mean, for me, at my size, I would be really, really claustrophobic in there. It just, I mean, we're talking elbow to elbow, just thick crowds. And what Dave said to me was, he said, "Oh, that looks like the entrance. So, you're going to have some congestion right at the entrance, and then people can kind of spread out there. So it may not be quite as bad as they're portraying."
Yeah, there's always a crowd scene at Disneyland during the summertime anyway. So I'm sure it's just like that, only in another area of the park. So, hey, Brooks, thanks a lot for calling up. We really appreciate your support on Patreon, and hope you have a great time when you visit the park in Orlando.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you, buddy. All right. Now, let's see. Who do we got? We've got some very patient folks here. Let's go to area code 248. You're next on with Rebel Force Radio. Here, our Patreon exclusive call-in show. Who do we got? Hello?
Bianca from Michigan.
Bianca, how are you?
I'm good.
Great to have you
with us. I'm
up
a little late, but I'm good.
Oh, is it late? Where is it? Where are you? Are you on the East Coast?
Michigan.
Well, yeah, Michigan. Yeah, so you're in the same time zone as I am. We're just getting started.
No, well, yeah. I know. So I might actually take a half day tomorrow, going a little late.
I like that. I like it. And what would the email or the text when you send into to work be? I was up talking to a podcast, a couple of knuckleheads.
No, you use a Jedi mind trick and fool them. I did not take a half day.
Persuasive, just kind of say maybe got to bed a little late, couldn't sleep.
Well, that's not a lie.
Come in later.
If I'm talking to you, and Jimmy Mac's talking to you, you can't be sleeping. So you couldn't sleep.
Yeah, we'll vouch for you. Have your boss call us.
Yeah.
So what can we do with you? What can we do for you, Bianca?
Oh, man. Well, I just want to say I really appreciate all the extra stuff in the Patreon feed lately. It's made my workday go really nicely.
Well, good. And there's more of that on the way. There's definitely more of that on the way.
And as for what I wanted to kind of pick your brains at about was I have taken a peek on YouTube at all the kind of Galaxy's Edge footage, and it looks pretty good. I don't think anybody was going to be, disappointed, just like, Steve the Sparky said, once you're there, you're there.
Right.
But I don't think I'm going to get to go anytime soon. So got to save up some money, get some good block of time to go. But it looks good. And my thoughts were, if there was one thing that you could get at one of these shops, whether it be the toy store or the kind of like goods and like costume and like knick-knack jewelry things, what would it be that you would want to go home with?
What would I want to go home with? Now, is money an object here? Is money no object?
No object, just one item that you would really want. I will say you can not count a lightsaber because who's really going to go and not want to get one?
No. Oh, so I can't pick the lightsaber.
So aside from a lightsaber, no, you'll get a lightsaber. So that's like a given. Okay. This is something else.
Oh, something beside the lightsaber. Okay.
What about the Falcon? I want the Falcon itself. Can I have that? Is that possible?
All right.
I don't know. You got enough credits for that?
Oh no, we need more credits. There's so many things. I'm really intrigued by this Kowakian monkey lizard that you can get that sits on your shoulder, and it's got like some controls. You can make it turn its head and stuff. Like, that's really cool. I didn't even know about that. That's a big one. That's on the top of my list. Also, I mean, I would be crazy to not say that the fully functioning R2 unit that you can buy for like what, $25,000? Is that what it is, Steve said?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty cool because I'm way too lazy to be an R2 builder, and I'm not skilled enough. So I could see myself. I remember, Jim, we had a great sort of backstage tour at Celebration Chicago of the droid builders.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was so much fun, and I was hearing some of the people talking and like, well, you just start off with a leg. Start off with a leg, and then you get another leg. Yeah, and I'm telling you, I'd be the one that 5 years later, I would just be sitting there with my one leg, because I wouldn't do it. So the only way I'm ever going to have my own droid is to just buy it, soup to nuts, right?
Right
there,
yes.
out of the box.
That's how I would like it too. I don't have the skill, patience, or ability to avoid electrocution. Those types of things come into play. I got a family I need to think about here. So, a fully functioning R2 unit that I could just purchase would be great. But let's get a little more realistic and talk about some of the things I saw that I'd actually consider purchasing. The thing that really tops my list are the hollow chess creatures. You can buy big figures of them. Like the same size they were. I did
see that, and it comes with a board.
Yeah, so I would like those guys, and I think that's about a $320 investment. The build your own lightsaber, obviously, listening to Steve describe that whole experience and process last week just made me instantly put aside $200 and earmark that for the next time I go to Disney. So I have to do that. But, I have to admit, I'm probably not the most well-versed guy on all of the cool merch that's available right now at the park. I think Steve said last week, there's somewhere in the neighborhood of 700 different items. So quite honestly, the first thing I'll probably throw down money on is like one of the beverages at that cantina. So that'll probably put me back a bit too. I saw a flight of beer there was $75. But you do get to keep the board and these like Rancor teeth goblets they come in.
Now, when they say flight, what do they exactly mean?
Oh, like how they serve up the craft beers.
Oh, okay, I thought it meant like on
5 or 6 of them on a board. And
the careful flying, at Galaxy's Edge.
No,
the flying actually happens after I've consumed the beer. That's when the true light speed kicks in.
All right. Well, I have an article courtesy of a GameSpot. I've got it pulled up right here, and I hadn't seen this one. This is cool. So this is actually giving you a list of the 23 best things that you can buy. So I'll just hit a couple of high spots here.
Okay.
Now, this is sort of like in order of price in a way. So you can get space soda, and they're in these little bottles, and when you get the you get the little bottle. I don't know what the amount of soda is, but you got the regular size bottles. You got the liters, right? The 2 liters, and then you got the little ones, and then you got the little ones. You know what I'm talking about?
Are you talking about these rounded out things?
Yeah, these are cool. They almost look like, I don't know, it's like a cross between a thermal detonator with like a little lightsaber button on the top or something.
It's just a Coke.
Yeah.
They made a big deal about this at Star Wars Celebration and some at the Disney Parks panel. And somebody said, wow, that was kind of the weirdest thing that happened at Star Wars Celebration Chicago. The strangest thing that happened was when Coca-Cola became Star Wars canon. And that was
okay. So if that's canon, because of course it's an Arabesh. You've got Dasani water, universe. And it's in universe. Right.
Okay,
right.
So
Space Coke,
or as we call it in Chicago, pop.
All right, and then there are these little rocks, these quote rocks. These are kind of cool. So these are only a couple bucks a piece, and there's these little rocks, and you can have them. They come with various Star Wars quotes engraved in them.
All right, let's get to the good stuff, man. You're like in this like Skid Row shopping area of Galaxy's Edge.
Here's a bit of clarification for you, because I was asking, I think I asked Steve last week about the build your own lightsaber, because I'm less interested in making my own and more interested in owning a classic lightsaber hilt that was wielded by someone from one of the films. So there's two different tracks. You can buy the $200 hilt, right? You can, or and go through the whole process of building your own. That's $200. The build your own is $200, but you can get a legacy hilt for $100. So I mean, they've got everybody in there. I mean, they've got the Mace Windu, and they've got the Palpatine, and they've got the Luke, and they've got the Ben, and they've got the Ahsoka. They got them all $100.
And it's cool. They come in these awesome cases too that make them really great for display.
Oh yeah, and with a stand. So I definitely would want those. There's some stained glass art that you can get. These let's see, what's the price on these? I don't know. It's Leia and Amidala. It's like stained glass, very kind of quasi-religious looking. You can get those. You can also get the Star Puff wigs. Bianca, would you like a Star Puff wig or an Amidala headdress? Which way would you go? You can get the royalty wig, which we know as Star Puffs, for $30, or for $50, you can get that sort of wicker-looking Naboo headdress.
Wicker. It does look like wicker.
Oh man, decisions. I'd probably have to go classic and go with the Star Puffs.
Yeah.
Star Puffs. All right. That's what we like about you, Bianca.
Yeah,
all right. And then, of course, there's some great helmets. You can get the Imperial TIE Fighter helmet for $500. For that price, I better get a TIE Fighter with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you seen the Sith Chalice? What is this?
Okay, now it's something that was spotted in Palpatine's office in Revenge of the Sith. And there are a few things like that available at Galaxy's Edge, most notably those statues that are located in his office as well. And the giant relief that's up on the wall.
Get out. They're selling that?
Yes. That look like warriors taking on space slugs or something. They are selling that. I think they're also selling the picture that was hanging up in Jabba's sail barge too. That relief.
Oh, that's great.
I mean, they have everything there. What would you get? I mean, what's the thing you're most looking forward to purchasing if you ever get the chance to go there, Bianca, or you have an opportunity to purchase it online or what have you?
I actually just saw them yesterday. It's from the toy shop, where all the toys look in universe.
Yeah.
And all the wooden figures. Those look really nice. There's a nice big selection of characters and animals, and they just have kind of like childlike, otherworldly look to them. They're very simplistic, but yet some of the paint jobs are very nice.
Are these supposed to emulate the homemade toys Jyn Erso had at the beginning of Rogue One?
Yes, like that.
Okay, yeah, you can see all those like in the visual
guide. Kind of like on a stand. They were kind of like on a stand, like a base, and like the arms moved and legs moved and things like that. So they're not like figures as much as like standees that had like movable like legs and arms. But
fun. Well,
it would be a nice collection, and I'd probably a little bit poorer, but I could maybe buy them, a couple at a time.
Well, we hope maybe someday you'll get the chance to go out there and purchase those, or if anyone's listening there who's a member of our Patreon community, Bianca, she's always leaving comments on posts like first always, which I really appreciate, because anytime I hit that post button, I'm always like, I hope people see this. And so it's always so refreshing to see she's on top of it right away. So if you're heading out to Galaxy's Edge, or maybe you live out in California and you can help Bianca out, reach out to her via Patreon, or you can write us, show@rebelforceradio.com, and we'll put you in touch with Bianca. So she's looking for the little figurines from Galaxy's Edge.
I'm on Facebook too.
Okay, perfect.
Bianca, thank you so much for obviously supporting us via Patreon, and then staying up late with us there in Michigan, and I won't hold it against you that you're from Michigan, okay?
And why would you say that?
Well, because
That's
I
right.
went to
I
Ohio
don't
State.
hold it against you that you're from
It's part
Ohio.
of the thing. It's you graduate from the Ohio State University. It's part of the.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, the Ohio State University. All right.
Bianca, I don't care where you're from. I love you for who you are.
Oh,
thanks,
Jimmy. Hear all that? All right. Thanks, Bianca. Appreciate it very much. Let's see who else we have here. Let's look at 407. 407. Where are you from? 407.
Hey guys, this is Daniel in Orlando.
Orlando. All right. How are you?
Orlando. Doing good. Thanks for taking my call.
You must, of course, be excited for the big opening of Galaxy's Edge there in the Southern Command.
I'm pretty excited. Yeah, pretty excited. I was out at Hollywood Studios on Sunday and trying to get another glimpse while I was taking a ride on the Slinky roller coaster, and I couldn't quite spot the Falcon, but man, it's coming along. It's looking pretty good.
You think they'll be ready by end of August?
I think they're going to do it, but God, it does still seem like there's quite a bit to do. But they've got it walled up pretty good there now, so it's really hard to get a glimpse, like I said, unless you're up on that particular ride in the park. But yeah, they'll have it done. And I'm just debating whether or not I'm going to be crazy enough to go that opening round if I'm lucky enough to get reservations.
Oh, you got to do it. I mean, you live right there. You live right
I've got
there.
to. Yeah, you're right. That was crazy not to. Crazy not to.
And now, because you live in Orlando, are you are you a season pass holder, or do you get to the park a lot?
I am.
You got to be. Did you work there when you were a kid?
Frequently.
Did you ever work there?
No, but one of my brothers did.
Have you ever been attacked by
one of my brothers did.
Crocodile attack?
No, but I've seen them quite frequently.
Oh, I bet you do. You see them like I see squirrels out here. I mean, my God.
I don't know.
So what can we do?
Quite
They're falling out of trees. So what can we do for you?
I actually have a burning question for you about Galaxy's Edge. I'm very curious. Are there any plans for Puppet Lando to take a trip out to Anaheim or here in Orlando to catch a ride on Smuggler's Run?
Well, I'm sure Puppet Lando would appreciate the credits to fly him out there and make it happen. But no, we have no plans right now. But I imagine we'll be trying to target that Orlando park once everything's up and fully running, including the Rise of the Resistance ride and maybe even the hotel as well. So if all that stuff is up and going and everything works out right with the scheduling and Puppet Lando's extensive shooting schedule, we'll definitely make it happen. We'll definitely make that happen. So I would love to see Puppet Lando perform in the heat. That's the thing I would love to see the most. Puppet Lando in the heat.
You ever see felt just burst into flames spontaneously? No, Daniel, we're not going to let you go yet. I do want to ask you while you're here. Has there been any talk about when tickets might potentially go on sale? As Jim pointed out, we're only a couple months away. If they follow suit, I didn't really follow the pattern between the time that it opened and when the tickets went on sale. I think
they take reservations.
Right.
I mean, you can buy tickets for the Disney park and just earmark that day and say that's when I'm going to go. But to make a reservation, I don't even think they've made any announcements about that necessarily happening in the Orlando park, but I'm sure it's going to.
Daniel, what have you heard?
Yeah, I've not heard anything. No? I've not heard anything. My a friend of mine in Anaheim, or actually Los Angeles, but she went out to the park there. She got her reservations about a month out.
Mm. And what was her when you talked to her after she experienced the whole thing? What did she have to say?
Oh, she loved it.
Yeah,
she loved it. It was. I think she said she rode the Falcon about 4 times. wasn't really able to get into the cantina. Like, you really had to plan to do that right from the jump, or else that line was just pretty insane. But
we're hearing about the cantina. The cantina is crazy.
Even in the morning hours, people they don't care. Hey, we're in Disney. Let's get our drink on.
Yes.
Everyone's just so excited to drink at Disney. And I think that's the big selling. I think that's a bigger selling point than Star Wars at this point right now, is getting blasted at Disneyland. People have been waiting since 1955 for this.
All right. Well, Daniel, thanks very much. Appreciate the call, and good luck to you as you venture there to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, the southern. I don't know what they're going to call it. Southern Outpost. I don't know what, but
southeastern.
Yeah.
Whatever. There is no northeast, south, and west in space. All right. So we've talked quite a bit about Galaxy's Edge. I know that there's a lot of Star Wars on the horizon. We're looking at the return of the Clone Wars, the debut of the Mandalorian, and of course, the premiere of Episode 9 this December. So I think we've talked enough about Galaxy's Edge. I would love to hear what you guys think about other Star Wars topics. So give us a call right now. We posted the number up on Patreon, but I'll just give it to you anyway. It's 708-866-1737. 708-866-1-RFR.
You know, here's an article. This is over at Screen Rant. Now, this is something I hadn't really thought of. And you just, one way to get people to click on your story, we don't do this kind of thing where we're trying to like game people. We don't do the clickbait thing, but you do like a countdown, like top 10 this, top 5 that.
Yeah, a lot of
this is, that's what they do to get the clicks. Star Wars top 10 most hated Jedi. Wow, hated Jedi. Now this is going across all of Star Wars canon.
Have you ever considered? Boy, I hate that Jedi. Have you ever considered? Is there anyone that has gotten under your skin that way? There are a couple with me. During the Clone Wars era, I really didn't like Luminara Unduli because she was constantly just giving up. Well, if that's what the Force wants, it's like, wait, there are people dying in there. What are you talking about? I mean, she was apathetic about even, her own Padawan, Barriss Offee, being put to risk in season 2. So I lost a lot of respect for her that way. I thought she was a bummer.
Yeah, she really was. She was like Luminara Downer. This article cites Bastilla Shan from the Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, well, see, I've never played the game, but I have the action figure, and the action figure is really cool.
All right, so yeah, we're gonna keep her off the list because the action figure is cool. How about Coleman Trebor?
What? Coleman Trebor. Okay, why would people hate him? Now, here's what I know about him. He's a background character that was shot during the Battle of Geonosis in Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, he was sort of like the first man down.
Yeah, he's the one who jumps out and gets blasted off the balcony, isn't he?
Yes. And he's kind of he looks like a dinosaur. He's got the big the thing on his head, the big what would you call that? Fin on his head?
Well, what happened was it looks like George turned the head upside down when he was looking at the maquettes and he came across Coleman Trebor. And he's like, well, eyes are on top like normal, but it'd be wild if we put it where the mouth are. And because if you look, it looks like he's got a mouth in his forehead and 2 eyes where his jaw should be.
Yeah.
So that's kind of weird. And I also know that it's a character that was named as a tribute to Rob Coleman, who is the supervisor of CGI and animation supervisor of the prequels.
Yeah.
That's all I know of him. Why would somebody hate that guy?
I know he was the first man down. This was like the shot heard around the world. Started the Clone Wars. I think he's pretty brave. He dropped down there. He was going to take out Dooku. Now imagine if he would have been successful.
Jango Fett took him out.
Yeah, Jango did. Yeah,
Quick draw Jango.
Now the next one I kind of have to agree with. I mean, there's really no one more worthless than Agent Kolar.
Agent Kolar.
I mean, he went down fast. He's the dude with the horns. And he goes into Sidious's office,
Yeah.
It's treason. Then I think he's the first one he takes out.
Right. He's a Zabrak, if I remember
that's
correctly.
right. Yeah, he's a Zabrak, yeah.
And he's derivative of another character who looked just like him in The Phantom Menace, and he was a member of the Jedi Council. But apparently they couldn't get that actor back. That actor who was seen on screen for a maximum of like 3 seconds. They couldn't get the same guy, so they hired another guy and used the same prosthetics on him and just changed his name.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that makes me hate him a little bit, too.
Eve Koth, I believe, is the other Zabrak who was a member of the Jedi Council in Episode 1.
Ah.
Yeah.
Right.
So does this list offer us like any sort of reason?
Oh, yeah,
why
yeah,
these guys are hated?
Yeah,
why do people hate Agent Kolar? I don't understand.
Well, he got stabbed first by Palpatine.
True.
You know, he lunged at him. Doing that, according to this, the fancy mid-air gymnastic roll. I like that.
Yeah.
But still, he just didn't last very long.
What kind of counter move do you put up when a 65-year-old man is corkscrewing through the air at you? I mean, you're just in awe looking at it. And before you know it, the lightsaber is right through your chest. Listen, if anyone else was there, the same thing would have happened to him. It's just like, remember, Bartman and the Cubs when he caught the foul ball and it ruined everything for the Cubs about 16 years ago? Agent Kolar is the Steve Bartman of Star Wars. He would have done the same thing. People out there know what I'm talking about. Who know baseball, they know what I mean by that. Agent Kolar is the Steve Bartman of Star Wars.
Okay.
Next. Who's next?
All right. Well, I'm not going to disagree with that here. We're gonna have to. We got a little issue here.
Yeah, where's our callers?
Yeah, they sort of dropped off. We got a little problem with our call-in studio software. So yeah, it'll just take me a second here.
Okay.
No worries. We'll get this back up and rolling. So if you got bounced, you can call back. Call in queue. Oh, okay. They're coming back. All right.
They're back.
They're back. All right, let's do this before they hang up here. All right, let's go to area code 717. Sorry about the delay there. Hello, 717. Who's this?
Hey, guys. This is Eric from Phoenix.
Eric from Phoenix. Please come to Phoenix, she said no. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. I'm actually in your neck of the woods, Jace. I'm out here in Columbus for work, so thrilled that I got through, dialed in a little late, so
that's
great to hear your guys' show.
Well, thank you. We were just talking about hated Jedi. So there's an article on Screen Rant about the top 10 most hated Jedi. We've already gone through Bastilla Shan, Coleman Trebor, and Agent Kolar. When we got to Agent Kolar, Jim goes, "Well, is there any narrative as to why they hate these people?"
Well, I wanted to know.
I mean, Agent Kolar is like the definition of useless Jedi. I mean, what's more worthless, solar-powered flashlight or Agent Kolar in a Sith fight? Not much difference.
I don't know. Hate's a strong word to use.
It is.
What about you, Eric? Are there any Jedi out there that might get under your skin a little bit? I've never thought of it before.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I can't say that I've really had any where I'm going, they're really kind of lame. I mean, a couple of those guys at the end die pretty quick, but you kind of realize that they got to keep the plot moving along. So to have a real extended lightsaber battle with all those guys in the Emperor's office or whatever probably wouldn't work super well. So no, I don't really have any that I don't particularly care for, at least that I've ever thought of.
I heard Ki-Adi-Mundi's a real jerk, and one time even pushed a girl at a concert. All right, well, no, that's
Classic.
not true. I was thinking about someone else, actually. What are you calling to talk about, Eric?
Well, yeah, first thing, I was just thrilled, Jimmy Mack, that you were able to still call in from your palatial studios, because after the last episode, when you're talking about Gooby Gone, lighter fluid, and hot hot air with a blow dryer on the ion cannon setting.
Yes.
I work for an insurance company, and all I could think of is poor Wendy's going to come home, and there's going to be smoke rolling out of the Jimmy Mack house. So I'm glad that did not happen with all the flammable liquids and everything.
No,
So
usually the only smoke is coming out of my ears down here in the Rebel Force Radio North studio complex. But no, I mean, actually, I have continued to work on these labels that are stuck on these action figures, and I've had some pretty good success lately. Today, as a matter of fact, I was able to get the sticker off of all of those cards, and I was using the hair dryer, I was using the Goo Gone, I was using Q-tips, and I was using my fingernails. Now, what they said I should do is continue to apply the heat, so you don't turn the hair dryer off while you're picking the label away.
Oh, and, is that it?
Yeah, and so that's when you really give up a lot for your hobby, because I swear to God, the skin was peeling off my fingertips there after a while. But yeah, no, I had some pretty good success with that. And I appreciate everyone for offering their support, their advice, and holding my hand through all of this, because that is the reason, Jason, why I was turned off by this line to begin with, as you were, calling me out last week and making poor Barry Harmon feel terrible.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Look at that. How I caught Barry Harmon at the Galloping Ghost swap meet over the weekend. And it's like, don't listen to what Swank said.
Oh, yeah, don't listen to Swank.
But the reason why I was turned off by these figures to begin with was because they had that big decal there on it. And at first I didn't realize that it was an adhesive thing. I thought it was part of the printing. I thought it was impossible to remove. But once I learned they were removable, I've just been having a good old time here with the Goo Gone and the hair dryer, and just minding my own business with the adhesive remover and the Vidal Sassoon ion powered hair dryer.
What about you, Eric? Are you a collector?
So I have kids similar in age to Jimmy Mack, and when my wife was actually pregnant with our oldest when we were at Celebration 1. And pretty much once he was born, I haven't collected a whole lot. We buy stuff when we go to Star Wars Celebration. I did ask for the retro figures for Father's Day. The problem is I didn't tell my wife that at Target you have to go to the men's clothing area. So I had told her about it a couple weeks ago, and she must have went in the last week or so, and she went in and they said they're discontinued, and she told me it. I said, oh, shoot, they're probably over in men's clothing. And she looked at me like, what are you talking about in men's clothing? I said, no, the guy said that's where they're at. She goes, well, it's too late. I bought you something else, which is fine. So, yeah, I collect very little. I am interested in the retro figures. And I actually put out on the Patreon page last episode, you guys talked about figures that we'd like to see that were never made. And I had just got done running, and so I was trying to think through the figures from when I was a kid that they never made. And I don't know what the plan is for the retro figures. I actually hope they make all the original line. And if they add in some of the stuff they never made when we were kids, I think that'd be pretty cool too. But other than that, I don't collect a ton. It's
did a character jump out at you as far as, someone?
Oh yeah.
Eric posted a whole list.
Oh, he did. Oh, okay.
On the Patreon page. I have it in front of me. Here it is.
Yeah. So the Luke and ceremonial, because I'm pretty certain they never made that Power of the Force.
Nope.
And
never did.
That outfit as a kid, I loved that. I mean, just that was I don't know why. It was just such a cool outfit, and they never made it. Like Wedge, it just seemed like he should have had a figure made. He never had a figure made. We had Prune Face, who, by the way, you can barely see. You have to stop the old DVD to even get a glimpse of that character. But we didn't have Wedge, we didn't have Piet, we didn't have Ozzel. We didn't have Sand Trooper.
Can we get a Mofter Jared?
Yeah.
There you go.
I I could have handled that. But I think there's enough, especially from Star Wars. I started having a harder time coming up with stuff from Empire and Jedi because it seemed like they made a lot more figures.
Yeah. They did. I'd love to see a Mon Mothma.
I think there's a lot they could do.
A Mon Mothma would be
good.
Yep,
I put her down too.
Yeah, she would be a great one. And
removable helmets Vader. Removable helmet Vader.
Yes.
Yeah, so the end of Jedi where you see Sebastian Shaw as Darth Vader. So seeing Darth Vader without his helmet on, they had other characters you could take the helmet off, Luke and Stormtrooper, Leia and Bush.
That's
so
right.
Why couldn't they do that with Darth Vader? Yeah, because there was a couple of them guys that you could take the helmet off. Skiff guard Lando, he had the helmet that came off, if I remember right.
Yep, sure did.
And, Luke Stormtrooper.
So that to me would. Yep.
Mm-hmm. They need a Han Stormtrooper. So, we need one of those.
Oh, I forgot that. Oh, that was the bulky Kenner figures you could mail away for.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that wasn't the original. That's right.
Starting to all run together. Some of the other Imperial dignitaries would be kind of interesting. He had that Palpatine had that little gaggle of creepy dudes. They did make one, but he was the only one.
They made the one guy, the creepiest looking guy they made.
Yeah.
I didn't go through the droids, the clear top droids. I always thought would be cool.
Well, he was.
He was not a peg warmer.
That Imperial dignitary was a peg warmer, if I ever saw one.
Yeah, he was.
I don't remember him being a peg warmer.
Oh,
I didn't think any of the power of the Force were warming any pegs back then.
Well,
13-year-old Jimmy Mack calls it like he sees it, and that thing was a peg warmer.
Montgomery Ward. You'd go to Montgomery Ward, and they'd have about 750 of Bespin Leias.
Ooh, really?
That was the only thing you could buy.
Really? Oh, I would love to go back in time. Bespin Leia, that was one of my favorites. I never got her. I never got her as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, any store reports from the Woolworths? Maybe the Zayres?
Yeah.
Have you been to Venture lately? Remember Venture or Turnstile? Maybe you were there.
No, I'm from Iowa. We didn't have all those stores. And actually, I lied. It wasn't Montgomery Ward. It was Woolworths. You're right. It was Woolworths.
Listen, I've been figure hunting in Iowa before. I know where to go. We're the only show that gives you store reports from Montgomery Ward.
From 40 years ago.
In 1980.
Yeah. Here's what's on the pegs. 1983.
Oh, man. Oh, Eric, thank you very much, man. Thanks for calling. Appreciate the support on the Patreon. And, of course, those timely store reports from the Woolworths. And make sure that you stay in touch and keep that. That's great. I got to go look at your post or on the Patreon page and see all those all those names that you dropped for potential.
Hey guys,
retro vintage.
Thanks for having me on. And once again, had a great time at the Lulu event. Seriously, it was the highlight of Celebration Chicago. We had a great time. Front row seats there, and can't wait till California. See you guys
I'm glad
next
you bring
year.
it up.
Thanks.
The big difference between having Star Wars Celebration in Chicago as opposed to having it in California is the fact that I can't easily go out and scout venues or call for favors and things like that, work my massive network of connections because it's very slim for me, slim pickings in Anaheim. I will be out there next month. So if you know of a venue that could potentially host one or two Rebel Force Radio live podcasts to happen next year during Star Wars Celebration Anaheim, we've heard that it's going to happen in August. That's just what we've heard. There's been no announcement made as far as dates, but I'll tell you what, there are people who know who are telling me in Chicago, oh yeah, it's next year in August in Anaheim. That's what they were telling me. Again, not confirmed. But
I heard Max Sparky's backyard. That's where the RFR meetup's going to be.
He's out there, isn't he?
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking, what if we rented a house or something and just.
Oh man.
did it at a house, shipped out our own PA and everything and just did it privately. But see, I think there's liability issues that concern me doing it that way.
Really?
Because, we'll bring in 200 people easily. So that's the size of venue I'm looking at. 150 to 200, Orange County, Anaheim, somewhere out there that could be friendly to podcasters.
Yeah, I like it.
We had a great time at Reggie's.
Oh, they were so
there's,
great.
Similar venue, a music club, a place where you could see us doing a podcast.
Well, both of them were great. Lulu was amazing. It was a much smaller place, but both of them were really fun. What I liked about Reggie's in particular was we had that sound guy. And
John.
Yeah, John. And we thought, it's like we're so used to having to do everything ourselves. Like, we need a this or we need a that. And John,
why isn't this working?
He's like, yeah, right. It's not my first rodeo here, guys.
I was back there to see a band a few weeks ago, and John was behind the board, and I went over and said hey to him, and he was very cordial. And I noticed several RFR stickers plastering the bathroom at Reggie's. Thank you for letting that evening live on in the urinals of Chicago.
So just Jimmy Mac's phone number is there in the bathroom. All right, here we go. We've got another caller here. This is area code 604. Who do we have on the line?
It's Wayne and Zach from Vancouver, Canada. How's it going, eh?
Oh, it's going great.
Beauty, eh?
Beauty. Hey, Jimmy Mac.
Yes.
A couple of weeks ago, I was in Disneyland, and I sent you a video of myself trying to break into Galaxy's Edge, doing the code on the door.
Right. Yes, on Twitter. Right. Yeah, I was trying to help you guys out, too. What was the code? So you have to understand. Hold on. Let me just paint the picture here for a second. Wayne, Jason, they were right outside of Galaxy's Edge. Mm-hmm. And there's a big wall up and a door. And then you open the door and there's another door on the inside. And you see there's a keypad. And this is a week or two before the park was open to the public. And so Wayne and his crew, they're all trying to crack the code. So they would punch in some numbers. What was the first number you tried?
May 4th, 77.
Yeah, good call. That was a good one. That didn't work. So I said, try 1138. And they tried, I think security then chased you guys away, if I remember correctly.
We tried the old Saturday Night Live Candygram type of thing on the door. That didn't work either.
No, that was good. Thanks
Candygram.
For it didn't work. Didn't work.
Hey, so just a serious question. I've been watching Solo a lot more.
Yeah.
And I'm really enjoying it more and more every time. What do you think the chances? I know they had that online petition. What do you think the chances are for maybe doing like a Young Indiana Jones series, but doing it on Disney Plus, the Young Han Solo series?
Oh, I think that's a much more likely outcome if they wanted to continue with these characters and that story. I think, yeah, streaming would be the place they'd park it as opposed to creating Solo 2. But, yeah, I don't know if that's an avenue they want to pursue or not. It was interesting to see there was a lot of fan support for that idea. I think Star Wars fans, anyone who's seen Solo, you like it. But it just failed to really bring in that box office that the big tentpole films are supposed to bring in. And that scares away all the bean counters at Disney, of course. So unfortunate, because I thought they were priming the characters and the actors, the cast. I think they were priming that all to be a standalone series on its own, Solo, like how they did with Marvel, where you have the Iron Man 1, 2, and 3, and then they all get together for Avengers. If pulled off correctly, if they had the ability to pull it off the way that Marvel was, then you might have seen something like that. a Han Solo standalone series, a Luke Skywalker standalone series. Bring them all together for one big movie, you know, a Leia thing. But I think streaming is the place where they're going to be parking those characters. What do you think?
Yeah, I hope so. Hey, one more thing before we run? The hold music that you guys have on here.
Oh, yeah, what is
horrible.
it? I've never heard it. What is it?
Oh, my goodness. It is the most depressing piano concerto you have ever heard.
Oh, my gosh.
You see, is there a way that we could, can we customize that?
Well,
Maybe we...
No, you can't customize. I wish we could. I'll look into it, but I don't believe that you can. You can choose to let people listen to the show, or you can choose to let them listen to hold music. And I went with the hold music. I didn't realize that it was going to be some bad elevator job. I thought,
it's not even bad elevator. It's depressing.
Oh, really? Oh, well.
Depressing.
More depressing than the show? You're talking about...
Oh, my goodness.
Here it is.
You should ask
I
your
got
next
it.
caller,
Oh, Jimmy's got it.
how depressing.
What does it sound like?
It doesn't even sound musical.
It doesn't? That's terrible. Is that music? All right, make it stop.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Make it stop.
All right, so can people actually hear the show when they're on hold, or that's what they're listening to?
Well, I mean, you could turn down the hold music and listen to the show on Mixler.
You know what? What would you prefer? I mean, the one thing about that terrible sound, I refuse to even call it music. But one thing you do have in your favor is if you've been disconnected or not. And we've already run through one technical issue with that tonight.
They were probably like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, right. We've been put out of our anguish. Well, you're right about that one, Wayne. I can't fault you on your opinion of that. Maybe we should go with a musicless situation there.
While we're talking about Solo, I do want to say, Ron Howard, who I have great respect for, I think he's just talk about a salt of the earth kind of guy. He was on another podcast. It wasn't our show. He was on another podcast, and he said that he noticed that there was pushback from The Last Jedi, but he said that aggressive trolling, this is a quote, was a crucial factor in what happened with Solo. Here's a quote. He says, "It was pretty interesting. It was especially noticeable prior to the release of the movie. Several of the algorithms, whether it was Metacritic or Rotten Tomatoes, there was an inordinate pushdown on the want to see score on Rotten Tomatoes and on fan voting." But, do we really believe? I don't know. This could be true. Do we think that Rotten Tomatoes or Metacritic really has that big of a pull? I never open up Rotten Tomatoes and say, should I go see this or not?
No.
Never.
You can point fingers all you want, but there's always going to be a very important element of all film marketing, and it's called word of mouth. And if the word of mouth of your film is bad, you can label it however you want, trolls or whatever, Word of mouth is bad, then people won't go see your film. And word of mouth about Solo was bad. The marketing was bad. There was fallout from the previous film, Episode 8, that has been very divisive and hurtful to the fan base. That was another bad element leading into Solo. It was a perfect storm. Mm-hmm. Everyone had been hearing reports about production issues of extreme magnitude. 80% of the film in the can and the directors get let go. That is uncommon. Ron Howard, by his good graces, saved that film. We are lucky we have a Solo to even be watching.
Yeah.
Under most circumstances, right. If there wasn't so much pressure on Star Wars, then I think in most circumstances, with all the issues and problems they had with that film, it would have been scrapped. But no. They kept it alive because they wanted to follow through, because Star Wars is such an important brand. And I think they did the right thing. I think Ron saved the film, quite honestly.
I do too.
I agree. I agree that he saved it. I just wish they would have played it at Christmas instead of May.
Yeah, I think they do too. Yeah, I think they realize that too. Yeah, because Mary Poppins didn't turn out the big money fall that they thought was going to happen. That thing was just,
how bad the new X-Men movie is.
Well, we've been hearing a lot about that too. I'm not as invested in the X-Men franchise to care about Dark Phoenix.
Oh, I thought they already did that.
No, it just came out last week, and it's critically panned.
Did they already do the whole Phoenix thing? Wasn't that in X-Men 3?
I don't know.
Who knows? There's so many.
Why do you ask questions when I say I don't care, I'm not invested in the, and you're like, oh, let's break it down into some trivial BS.
Well, I think that they did it in X-Men 3. I don't. I saw the first 3 X-Men movies, and that was pretty much it. I didn't see the young generation or whatever it was called, where they de-aged Patrick. No, they recast. That's right, they recast.
All right.
Which
well,
apparently
this
you're
latest
allowed
one
to do in X-Men, but you can't do that in Star Wars.
There is more flexibility in X-Men. Now, of course, the connections to this latest X-Men being a huge disaster in Star Wars, there is a connection there because the guy who directed Dark Phoenix is Simon Kinberg, and his contributions to Star Wars include being an executive producer on Star Wars Rebels, a show which he worked on early with Dave Filoni to develop that show. But Simon also really was kind of dipping his fingers into all matters of Star Wars at that time, more than just Rebels. He was the guy who brought on board Josh Trank to direct the Boba Fett film. It was via Simon Kinberg's recommendation that Josh Trank was brought on board to Star Wars because and Kinberg also brought him on board to work on the Fantastic Four film. Trank notoriously sabotaged that film, I guess, is the best way to put it.
We've heard some stories that are just too crazy to make up.
And so he has demons, let's just say, Josh Trank. And so he left the whole concept of a Boba Fett standalone film just completely in shambles. And they had to scrap that film and rushed Solo into production to essentially replace the Boba Fett film in the lineup there. So Simon makes I think this is his directorial debut, this Dark Phoenix film. People are talking about how bad this movie is. Now, I can't make any judgment call on it. I heard the action sequences were real good, but the acting and dialogue was real stiff. And it just, most of the articles I've seen about Dark Phoenix say, what a terrible way for the Fox X-Men franchise to go out on such a whimper. Yeah. For all I know, there's tons of people listening who love that thing. So, I don't want to make any judgment calls on that, but I'm just kind of keen on pointing out the fact that Simon was a big supporter, Josh Trank, and that guy destroyed the idea of a Boba Fett film. And now Simon has really just worked his magic once again, this time on the X-Men. I don't mean to be so harsh on him because I think he's a talented guy. Simon Kinberg, he has I think a good resume and stuff. I have no hang-ups with Simon Kinberg and everything. And Rebels was good, but wow.
Yeah. All right. Hey, Wayne, thanks so much, buddy.
Sorry, one more thing before I go. When is the Swank ringtone coming out?
Oh, what's that? I'll do it this week. What should it say?
No, it's the laugh.
Oh, his laugh? Oh, did we say we'd make that a ringtone? Okay, all right. I'm making a note to myself.
This is for Virtual Swank?
Yeah, this might have happened during the Virtual Swank.
All right.
It was craziness while you were in New York around here.
I heard.
What a wild time.
All right, Wayne. Thanks, buddy. We appreciate the call and the support. Let's see. Who do we have next? Who's been waiting the longest? We've got And we got area code 801.
What should it say?
Yo.
Uh-oh.
Hey, guys, this is Dan Larson.
Hey, Dan.
Dan, how are you?
Good.
What can we do for you?
Hey, so I was just, have you guys had a chance to read these new Thrawn novels?
Yeah, I've had a real issue with the new era of fiction, and I have struggled to make it through all of the books. Now, the first one, I think I did most of the audiobook, and I read the comic that was based on it. And I was surprised that I didn't remain really locked into that story, because I do like Timothy Zahn, and I do like Grand Admiral Thrawn quite a bit. Now, there's been, one or two since then that have come out?
There have been, yeah. There's been two. And I agree. Like, I've really struggled with some of the new EU canon coming out.
I'm struggling. I don't know why it is. I don't know what it is. It's just, it's not like the old EU, in my opinion, was perfect. I think it started getting really big and bloated there toward the end with these massively long book series. But at the same time, it also gave you a foundation that you could follow from, point to point and connect all the dots. With this current run of the new era of expanded universe, I should say, it just seems like the books drop in any points of the timeline, and they're tackling subject matter that I'm not really too willing to throw myself into. It seems inconsequential to the overall saga as the new films are coming out, and there's comic books all the time, and the novels. To me, a novel's a real investment. When I'm reading a novel, I focus on that novel, and I take my time with novels too. I'll let it just for a month. It'll be the only thing I read. When I have time to read, I'll pick up the book I'm currently focusing on and I'll read it. So it usually takes me about a solid month of finding whatever free time I can to get through a novel if I'm actually sitting down and reading it. That's why I probably have drifted more toward audiobooks. But sometimes I don't find the audiobook to be as enjoyable as reading it. I get tired of hearing someone else's voice tell me the story. So I then start saying,
agree.
Boy, I wish I had time to read this sucker, because it's a different experience when you're listening to the audiobook. A well-delivered audio read by a great narrator and well-produced with variety and stuff can just, blow your mind away. But a lot of times it's the same narrator and they use the same sound effects and it just all feels the same. So I prefer actually the more personal experience of actually reading a novel. And in this new era of Star Wars, I've had difficulty with the expanded universe. But so what's up with those Thrawn books? Are they good? Should I read them?
Well, so I don't know. I just finished the second one, and I struggled with it, and then toward the end, I questioned something they threw in there, and I wanted to get your guys' take on what it is they're trying to suggest. But it's a conversation that Thrawn is having with Vader, and this is post A New Hope, I believe.
All right, what book is this?
In fact, it's just before. It's right around the time of Rebels, but it's Thrawn and Vader talking, and the conversation is around the fact that Vader has this force ability to look into the future a bit, and Thrawn calls this third sight, and he talks about how in his Chiss culture it says the China word is some long word. Thrawn said, in basic, it translates to Skywalker. Another small smile from Thrawn. You can imagine my momentary confusion when I first encountered General Anakin Skywalker. And so I wonder, what are they trying to suggest? That the name Skywalker comes from something? It means something? That Shmi was somebody prior to having met the Jedi?
Well, I mean, you know what? To go there would require a real redefinition of just about everything we know about Star Wars at this point. hearing that episode 9 is going to be called The Rise of Skywalker makes you wonder a little bit.
Right.
Right.
When I saw that, it made me wonder.
When you hear talk about episode 9 being the thing to provide closure and wrap up all 9 films of the Star Wars saga, then that means there's going to be some things that we've always interpreted to be one way. They will be revealed to be something else, because everything is going to have to fit together. And the only way you can make that happen is by providing some new insight into the background of everything from Shmi to Anakin to Palpatine to Obi-Wan, Yoda, Qui-Gon. I hope they all come into play somehow in episode 9, even if it's just a line of dialogue, just to give us some further information. But like I said, I really think episode 9 is going to do things to make us look at the entire saga, certain elements, in a different way. And Skywalker could be one.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Now, have you heard this, Jason?
Yeah.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
You lost me at novel.
It's novel. See, he wasn't even listening. I knew.
No, I was listening. Of course. It actually was, if I remember correctly, one of the first references that we ever heard of Batuu, and what's the name of the outpost there on Batuu?
Black Spire.
Yeah, the Black Spire outpost was from the Thrawn novel. What was it? Alliances. I think that was it.
Yep. It's this book.
Yeah, so it's this book. So this is the book where we actually it sort of takes place half in the past and half in present, and by present we mean, Vader and Thrawn are together, but Thrawn is remembering back to when he first met Anakin Skywalker as a Jedi general.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So this book has been out for quite a while, about a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's significant in the sense that it sort of opened up the door to this Batuu system, planet, and the in the outpost. And then there was some I don't know. I remember this being somewhat controversial at the time when it initially came out. But how many books were there? Was this a part of a trilogy?
Yeah, I think there are 3
books.
It
is. The last one comes out next month, I believe.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you have to report back to us, Dan. Let us know what you think. Where do you think they're going with this?
I don't know. The way that they're using the name would almost suggest what you're hearing in the media, which is that the name Skywalker is going to mean something other than just a last name. It's going to be an order or something, right? And maybe we'll get more information, because it makes me wonder, because we meet Shmi on Tatooine. She has the last name of Skywalker. Where did that come from? Is that really just a last name, and Anakin and Luke just happen to get that, or is it significant in some way?
Wow.
I don't think they've ever really answered that.
And it also provides a wide open door for Rey to assume that name.
It does.
Because, as we all know, she is without a last name. So it's all kind of coming together now, isn't it? It'll be interesting to listen to these shows, say January 2020. That would be very interesting to listen to shows. Well, thanks so much for calling, Dan. And like Jason said, keep us up to speed on what's happening with Timothy Zahn's Thrawn series, okay?
Yeah, will do.
All right, thanks, buddy.
Thank you. All right, let's see. We've got area code 734. You're next here on Rebel Force Radio. Hello. Who do we have?
Hi, this is Sean W. from Warsaw.
Sean from Warsaw. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. About yourself?
Oh, we're hanging in there. Having a great time talking to you wonderful Patreon supporters. So what's on your mind tonight?
Oh, boy. Well, I posted this up on the Patreon community a few days ago, and I'm still stuck on it, honestly. I was referring to some Episode 9 speculation, specifically about, well, Luke Skywalker. You know, like a lot of people, I'm one of those that I guess I have the hang up over the whole Kylo Ren flashback scene. You know, it doesn't quite feel like Luke. You know,
which version?
I've just been thinking about how. Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, the big one.
They're really not all that different, to tell you the truth. That's one of my hang-ups with it.
Right. But, the one where he's actually contemplating murdering him in his sleep, you know, it just, the whole topic, though, is Episode 9's discussion, not Episode 8. So I wanted to throw this at you guys here and see what you guys think here, because I've been racking my brain to try to understand, like, what could have made Luke, I guess, believe that Kylo Ren was actually worse than, you know, Vader, or at least as bad as the Emperor. And to me, like, maybe he actually saw that, you know, Kylo Ren is irredeemable, perhaps. Maybe even the spirit of the Emperor lives inside him or something, you know? That's kind of what happened in the Dark Empire comics, where the spirit of the Emperor would kind of float around and take over bodies and hot bodies and all that. So, I don't know, just a crazy idea I thought I'd throw at you guys. And you know, how does that scene work for you guys? How do you understand what Luke, you know, what motivated Luke in that scene? I've really just been struggling with it. I could use some catharsis really bad, to be perfectly honest.
Well, I think one of the things that's different is the fact that not only is this blood, I mean, you can say, if you look at Darth Vader, when Leia and Luke became aware of Darth Vader, he was already a monster. All right, they didn't know him as Dad. In this case, what Luke is dealing with is what he perceives to be a monster that's also his best friend's son, his sister's son, his nephew. There are connections, and there's sentiment, and there's all kinds of things that are going to make this a very, very difficult situation. And now I'm not justifying it, nor am I saying that this is the direction that I'd have gone as a storyteller. But in Luke's mind, it could have been a mercy killing. He might have thought, you know what I can do? I can solve so much right here, right now, so much pain that's coming down the pike, and no one has to know.
It's that old question, you know, if you could kill Hitler in his crib, would you do it? Right. If you knew. As a matter of fact, to really get kind of deeper into this, I would suggest you take a look at the film Looper, which was also written and directed by Rian Johnson. The reason I'm telling you to look at that, because this subject matter actually plays very heavily into that film. Killing an evil before it becomes unleashed, taking that proactive step to remove a problem before it germinates into reality.
Right.
And it deals with time travel in order to achieve this. You know, kind of like the Terminator does too, in a way. You know, the Terminator is also something that, from a certain point of view, also kind of does this.
Take out the mother. Take out the mother.
Cut the head off the serpent.
Sure.
So the unfortunate thing is, and I think the biggest issue with it is it's all being presented to us in these real brief flashbacks. We don't get to go through the progression with these characters that we already know so well going into it. Everything is being deconstructed and rebuilt. And that is becoming a priority of Hollywood with established iconic franchises. Deconstruct and rebuild. I really wish that the Disney company waited until after episode 9 for their big deconstruction and rebuilding, but they want to do it now.
Yeah.
So they've really focused on Luke. They focused in on Luke very heavily, and maybe a little recklessly too, I might add. Another thing, but that's my opinion. Something that our listener Cam brings up via email, show@rebelforceradio.com. Cam says, of all the possibilities you guys have discussed regarding Luke's fate, I have never heard you mention the possibility that Luke is indeed alive. What if he was never physically present to Rey on Ahch-To to begin with? Is it possible he was force projecting himself to Ahch-To the whole time we see him there? Is it possible? And of course,
I don't believe that.
But Mark Hamill himself would probably say
it's possible.
Right.
So there you go. These are a lot of ideas. These are fun fan theories I enjoy hearing. And I love the idea that now that we know that Palpatine comes into play in episode 9, as he rightfully should, he's been there since the beginning. How does that happen? How does he actually become an element of evil to be dealt with in the sequel trilogy? Well, living somehow living on via possessing the son of Leia. Maybe he was just dormant, possessing him,
Yeah.
Just gradually breaking through, like Qui-Gon was gradually breaking through to Yoda in episodes 2 and 3. Maybe that's what's been happening.
Sure, I know and it leaves a lot for the imagination. It's pretty fascinating to just contemplate it, just to let your imagination kind of go wild. But I guess I'm just stuck in that rut. How do you? Is that an accurate characterization of Luke in that moment to you guys? How do you deal with that?
Well,
that flashback scene.
I've heard a lot of people discussing that, and I don't know what to say, because it's been 30 years and we're seeing stuff that, this is stuff we're not privy to. We don't know what led him on the road to get there. So how can we say, based on the end of Return of the Jedi? Then I'd say absolutely not. But we're talking about a 30-year gap of character history. That's what makes a lot of it hard to.
And we also don't know what the signs were that Kylo Ren was showing.
We don't know what he did.
We don't
Luke just
know
says,
what he did.
Luke looked in, saw darkness. Right. Now let's look at what we have in front of us. So Luke says that when he mind probed Kylo Ren, he saw the darkest darkness that darkness could ever darken.
Right.
And what
leads me to believe that it might be the Emperor.
Right. What has been that? I mean, if you could define that in the Star Wars franchise and the entire saga, what would that be? What is the greatest evil? It's always been Palpatine.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
So that makes sense. But we just have to wait and see if that's all going to be employed. And somebody brought up to me also, when Jason, we were talking about Rey's wardrobe in episode 9, and we were saying, it's so much like what she was wearing in episode 7. There's been no evolution. Somebody pointed out to me, what if it's that way simply for the fact that they're reusing all of this Carrie Fisher footage, and Carrie may have shared scenes with Rey in that film. So it would just be easy to kind of, paint over Rey's clothes to make them a different color, maybe via CGI or whatever, to have her, function in these scenes with Leia.
Right. That's a good idea.
There's some new rumors that have been circulating over the last couple of days about that. Well, that are claiming that the use of the Carrie Fisher footage for Episode 9 is not as pure and pristine as what we've been led to believe, that this is being digitally manipulated, that they're not necessarily just writing around this. And
I think they're going to make her look a little older.
Yep. Yeah, they're talking about that.
There's going to be some cosmetic touch-up going on.
Yeah.
True, she's not going to be animated as a CG character like Tarkin was. But there are going to be some, film tricks in play here to bring her back. They'd have to be using stand-ins for scenes and body doubles and things of that nature, where it's not really recasting the character or anything. Stunt people,
Yeah.
Think about it. There's all kind of different people we see embodying a character, even though they aren't often credited with playing that character on screen. When you think about body doubles and stunt actors, etc., they all come into play for every film, for anyone. So, well, that's a lot to think about, Sean. I really dig your idea that maybe Palpatine has somehow possessed Kylo in a certain way, and that was the darkness. Somehow, I think the resurrection of Palpatine does play into Kylo Ren's story, and that one actually seems pretty feasible. So, Sean from Warsaw, judging by the sound of your voice, I'm assuming Indiana and not Poland.
Right.
Yeah, see? I knew
Very
it.
true.
There you go, Sean. Well, thank you so much for calling.
Thank you very much, Sean.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. We have time for just a couple more here before we wrap things up. Let's go to area code 970. You're on with us here. Rebel Force Radio, Patreon exclusive call-in show. 970, what's going on? Who is this?
How's it going? It's Jacob in Laramie, Wyoming. How's it going?
In Wyoming. It's going great. How are you?
Good. So I had a few Last Jedi thoughts for you guys.
Oh, lay them on us.
Okay, so do we think Palpatine is coming back, number one?
Yes. I think that's been confirmed,
and if he does, has it really good?
Well, it's been confirmed that he's going to be in the film.
Yeah.
In the film. Jacob, are you asking whether or not we're going to be seeing a Palpatine that's
physical manifestation of some sort?
I actually believe, if I had to put money down on this, I would say that we're going to see Palpatine as some sort of recording or some sort of stuck in time kind of phenomenon. I don't think we're going to see Palpatine working in the current timeline. Put it that way.
Maybe he realized the starship he was on was doomed for disasters, so he put himself into a transporter beam loop, just like Scotty did in Star Trek: The Next Generation. I don't think they have transporters in Star Wars. But I'm sorry I went there, Jacob. Please forgive me.
No,
Jason,
that's okay.
Jason
that's
made me do
okay,
it.
I guess.
Jason totally made me do it.
We'll blame Jason. He's a good one to blame.
Yes.
But
that would be my guess. That's my guess.
What is?
My guess
So
is that it's
I'm
not
hoping
not
that
real
he
Palpatine. It's some sort of recording or some sort of.
Okay, well, yeah, that's probably fair. Because
That's
it is
what I'm
kind
of leaning towards too. I hope it's not.
Well, I like the idea of them looking out onto that shoreline, and just out there is the remnants of the Death Star. I love the idea of Ghost Palpatine haunting the Death Star. Can't leave.
That's cool.
He can't leave.
Yeah.
But they confront him.
100%.
And he spills the beans on certain things. Ray, welcome home, Ray. No, Ray.
So I think
your father. How about that? Huh?
I would be okay with that. I would be fully okay with that.
Yep.
So if Palpatine does come back physically manifested in some way, what if the Wills bring Luke back, or this won't happen, but Anakin back to fight him, and that's how 9 ends. That's how I would like it to end. I highly doubt it, but that was my kind of thought about it.
Oh, showdown between Anakin and Palpatine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've already done
more
that.
likely, probably Luke and Palpatine, but well,
no,
it was Vader and Palpatine, but
not really.
Not really.
Well, wait a minute. He chucked him down the exhaust.
Well, yeah, but I mean that wasn't like.
I'm saying they've already squared off.
Yeah, I guess that has been sort of settled. A rematch.
Yeah, there's no unfinished business between the two. Other than the possibility of a rematch,
unless Palpatine's alive.
Unless he's alive, that's true.
But you see, Anakin Skywalker facing off against Palpatine, taking back what he lost at the hands of the evil wizard. I mean, he lost his whole life.
Yeah, but then it becomes less.
What would be really cool if we were to see both Anakin and Luke come back to fight him.
And Anakin defeats Palpatine, still retaining the title of Chosen One. So that doesn't get retconned and passed off to like Rose Tico or somebody. Rose Tico.
That's my nightmare right there.
Honestly, again, if I had to guess, if I had to put money on it, I think that some sort of recording, some sort of information that is on the wreckage of the Death Star is going to be the MacGuffin of this film. And
Holocron.
Yeah.
That feels so lame, though.
That's what I think is going to be.
It's so Star Wars
They had him come
Rebels.
out on stage at Celebration, and it's just so. It would be so much cooler if he were to actually come back. Fans wouldn't feel let down that way, because I think if that happens, fans will feel let down.
I agree with you. Ming never dies.
That's right, Paul.
That's right, Paul.
I'm not saying that that's what I want. I'm saying that that's what I think is going to happen.
I agree.
There's
I hope it
evidence
doesn't.
to suggest otherwise. I'll put it that way. There's plenty of
Yeah.
evidence to suggest
Yeah.
that that's the direction they're going to go. And they're going to think that that's enough. They're going to think that just seeing McDiarmid back as Palpatine for a couple of seconds and some sort of holocron recording is going to be enough to make.
Maybe it will be.
Maybe it will be. Could be.
Yeah.
Vader's brief appearances in Rogue One stole the show. So.
Yeah, that's true. And
But that was actually Vader. That wasn't a recording of Vader.
Well, true. I know. But brief appearance is just what I was comparing.
Yeah, for
not
sure.
Actual physical.
For sure.
I would be much more satisfied by actually seeing the Emperor make a physical appearance and not in a flashback.
It would be so cool.
Not as a holocron, not as a hologram. I want to see him there. I want to see a younger version too. That looks just like Ian McDiarmid now, with the plastic rim, black glasses, and the goatee, and the no, that's taking it too far. But I'd like to see him back with Sith lightning and the robe and the hood and the evil laugh and real Emperor Palpatine quality time with Darth Sidious. That's what I thought the name of the film was going to be. Quality time with Darth Sidious. But
Episode 9.
It would be too revealing. Revealing.
All right. Hey, Jacob, thank you so much for staying up late with us. And,
One more thing.
Yes, please.
Next time you guys have Glosson on, you guys got to go live so we can hear the Popeye takes.
Oh, no,
he was talking about Popeye, and you guys edited him out.
I did. No, it was ridiculous. These guys talked about Popeye for 20 minutes. I couldn't even get the show going. I had to take all references out. I had to scrub it out.
This is a Popeyes podcast.
Listen,
now.
I have been...
And we're not talking about chicken either.
No, we're talking about... The first they oh God, these guys. So you can thank me. The show was like 4 hours long.
Floundering.
Oh, there it is. Oh,
hey, that's I would love a 4 hour
Barnacle from the dinghy of life.
How how is it that anytime I want the Mark Hamill It's Possible drop, he never has it. But you bring up Popeye, and he's firing off the Robin Williams soundtrack. There it is again. You're gonna snuck your snuts right out of you. All right, listen, that'll be a Patreon exclusive Popeye talk with Big Steve and Swank.
We'll do a whole show on Popeye for Patreon.
That's all I save you money for. I'll do $100 a month for that.
All right, well, I'll give it to you for free. Don't worry.
All right. Hey, thank you so much, Jacob. Appreciate it, buddy. All right. We got time for one more here. They've been waiting a long time. Who do we got? We got area code 717 joining us. Who's this?
Hey, guys. Sorry, this is Eric from Phoenix again.
Oh, Eric from Phoenix. double dipping tonight. We'll let it happen.
Yeah, well, hey, first of all, you guys talked earlier about the hold music. Yeah, if there's any way you can make it so we can listen to the show.
All right,
if it's
next
easy
time
and it doesn't cost you money, that's awesome.
Okay.
No, but that's not why I called. Mandalorian.
Yes.
What are you guys most looking forward to from the Mandalorian?
A real nice, tight story that takes us from point A to point B to point C and tells a crystal clear story. I'm tired of the mystery box. Okay. I'm sick and tired of these manufactured mysteries in Star Wars. I think it's just all gone too far. Everything's gone haywire. The original Star Wars would kind of create those situations a little more organically. So I'm tired of that certain element of the sequel trilogy, the mystery. Who is Rey? Who are Rey's parents? How did Maz get the lightsaber? All this stuff. I just want to hear a story. I want a story that I could follow along, that makes sense from beginning to end, and doesn't have you pulling your hair out, asking all of these questions, which become distractions from the actual story itself. It almost comes off as gimmicky to me after a while. So that's one thing I think, and I think we're going to get that in The Mandalorian to a certain degree. I would like to see the return of classic Star Wars alien species.
Yes.
Which I think we'll be getting in The Mandalorian, if you really want to start getting nitpicky about it. I would like to see a sense of romance return to Star Wars. We talked about that recently. And I would like to see it tie in somehow to the overall story arc that we already know. I don't know how, but just somehow make it matter to the mythology on a whole. And I know that's a tall order to ask these days, especially as it seems like the Disney company is looking forward to having a clean break and an open playing field to create whatever they want to create with all of the Star Wars trappings that we know and love so much. But I love the fact that there's always something that kind of brings it all back into the elements of the universe that we already know and love so much. I hope the desert planet's Tatooine. And before I could keep going, trust me, I can. But I don't want to take away everything, so Jason has something to at least say about The Mandalorian.
Well, I go back to back before we saw Episode 7 in theaters. Our pal Paul Bateman had heard it through the grapevine that one of the images that J.J. Abrams was trying to instill in the various special effects teams that were putting together this movie, he said, I want this to feel like you had just popped Return of the Jedi out of the VHS, and then you put in Episode 7, The Force Awakens. And there was a lot of Episode 7 that made me feel that way. I thought that it did a great job in reestablishing the universe and putting you into the proper context. One of my beefs with Episode 8 was I feel like they dropped all of that there was not that connection to the original trilogy. So what I'm really looking forward to most with The Mandalorian is exactly what we saw so far in those behind the scenes features and those sneak peeks is the puppet Kowakian monkey lizard sitting there waiting to be roasted. As Jimmy said, the classic aliens that we're already seeing. That's what I want. I want Star Wars that is derivative of Star Wars, honestly, and not worrying about, well, it's making the universe seem awfully small if we have a hammerhead in here. Well, it makes the universe seem awfully disconnected when you never see another freaking hammerhead or another Jawa again. So I'm interested in that, and I think that Favreau and Filoni are going to deliver on that and really put us smack dab back square in the center of the Star Wars universe. That's my take. Jake? Eric, you still with us?
Eric.
Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, I'm right with you guys. I really want to just the whole underworld piece, what's going on in the galaxy at this point in time, and all the things you mentioned. Rogue One, I think, did a really good job of connecting to the original Star Wars, just the look and feel for the most part. And you could kind of see that in the behind-the-scenes stuff we saw, and that's really what I'm looking forward to. Now, I am going to say something. You guys spent time talking about this a couple weeks ago, so I'm going to differ from you on this. I couldn't give a rip if they talk about Mandalore at all in this series. I really don't care because they spent a ton of time in Clone Wars and to some extent Rebels talking about it. And let's be honest, the mainstream, so in other words, the people that listen to this podcast or the people that go to Star Wars Celebration, we would get that stuff. But if you want to get the masses of people to turn in, I just don't know how much time they could spend digging into Mandalore. And I really don't care if they do that. Right. I'm more interested in the stuff you guys are talking about. What's going on in the universe? How's this underworld work? Shizor, Black Sun, the Hutt Cartel. How's it all fit together with the remnants of the Empire, the New Republic coming up? Because I guarantee you they have to connect all those. I mean, to me, that's drama. You can connect all those different things together, and you could have where not all of them are bad and not all of them are good, but how do they interact together in the plot line of these characters that they laid out in front of us? And the thing that I thought was really cool, there's several scenes that just reminded me of the old Star Wars Galaxies video game, where you kind of choose your own adventure and you have all these crazy characters and aliens going on a mission. And so I just think there's a lot they can do with it. I think they can get a lot of people to really like it.
Well, I'll tell you, nothing has me more excited in the future of Star Wars more than The Mandalorian. No question about it.
It sure seems like ILM is going to have they're playing a heavy hand on this too, much like they did with Rogue One. That's why I think we'll be able to watch the show and have the enjoyment as a viewer of being able to let our eyeballs dart all over the corners of the frame and look at all the detail in each shot and notice things that will just enrichen the universe as Lucas did. George always would apply that, especially in the prequels. He really dumped that in, and Jabba's palace, places like that, you always want to see more. And I think with ILM's role in this show, I think we're going to be getting a lot of that. So, it's gonna be really strong. And I'm with you on the whole Mandalorian as a culture. I hope that we're dealing with a lone survivor because that works with Star Wars. I think Boba Fett was pretty well known as a lone survivor of the Mandalorian culture. And that's what made him special by the time we caught up with him in Empire Strikes Back. There weren't armies of Boba Fett's running around anymore. But I think that could have gone under a bit of retcon, but that's how I always looked at it, was that Boba Fett was unique. And now with Boba out of the picture, then maybe the Mandalorian is the lone survivor. So it doesn't matter what his culture was like and the Death Watch versus the pacifists and Satine and Sabine and all the Eanes. I don't think that'll come into play. I think this will be a story about a guy who's trying to survive in a galaxy as a loner, as the last man standing from his tribe or what have you. So that's what I think.
I agree. All right. Hey, Eric, thanks so much for the second call. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Yeah, you too, buddy. All right. I think that's going to do it for this week's show. What a great, great time.
Rebel Force Radio.